Vanakkam. Today, I'm going to take up Foreign Exchange Management Act of 1999 and with a specific reference to project exports and service exports. What are the important items that you are to see in project exports? What is meant by project export? What is meant by service export? Everything we have to see in this presentation. This is relevant to the FEMA. And before going to that, it's a disclaimer by me. That is, the views expressed by me here is my personal view. For clear understanding of the matters discussed, I request the viewers to go through the FEMA 1999. I am not responsible for any wrong interpretation. With disclaimer, I am presenting the subject for your easy understanding. I am going to take up the project exports and service exports. What is meant by a project export? It means project export means export of engineering goods on deferred payment terms. Execution of turnkey projects, that is from beginning to the end, entire thing, that is called as execution of turnkey projects. And civil construction contracts. Then deferred payment contracts. All these are defined as project export as per the FEMA. Now, we are going for the service export. What is a service export? And it covers the preparation of project report, feasibility report, drawings, designs, then supply of technical know-how, engineering services, then operation, maintenance, and supervision of manufacturing plants, buildings, structures, etc. Management contracts for commercial, all this with inclusive of supply of tools, spares, and consumables for contract. So all those tools, spares, consumables, whether it can be utilized for the contract are also termed, and everything is part of service exports. And development of computer software abroad. So most of the people in India, they are going abroad and they are doing software development abroad. So that all those are coming under the category of service exports. Now, PEM. What is PEM? This PEM is released by RBI on 1/7/2014. It is called as a memorandum of instruction on project and service exports. So all this is a part of RBI guidelines, and the exports and export of project, export of services should be done as per the memorandum of instruction of PM. And PM is released to make provisions relating to project exports. So it is not related to project services. So this is the thing that you have to see about the PM. This is with effect from 1/7/2014. Here, when you want to do export, when you want to do export of goods or services, prior approval of AA. Who is AA? AA is nothing but AA is the approving authority. He is called as approving authority. So anyone who wants to export of services or projects outside India, they have to get the prior approval of approving authority. So the proposal has to be prepared by the exporter. The exporter who is doing the export of services, export of projects, they have to prepare the proposal and they have to submit the same to the AA, that is approving authority. And this can be made for the following items. That is, the approval has to be obtained by the exporter prior in advance of export. That is, export of goods or services proposed to be made on deferred payment terms or execution of turnkey project or civil contract. Here, before going to the next part of the presentation, we'll see who is approving authority, what are all their roles. Approving authority are approved by the approved persons of FEMA, Foreign Exchange Management Act, who are all called as approving authority. Exim Bank, that is Export Import Bank, or the authorized dealers. Who are all authorized dealers? Authorized dealers are appointed by the Reserve Bank of India, which includes the banks. So before going for the export of services or projects, they have to submit the application to AA to get the approval. Their approval, then only they are eligible to export the projects or services. And their approval is required before undertaking. So these are basic conditions. Condition before going for export of services, you have to get the prior approval of AA. Provided you have to do the same thing outside India. And now, as for the latest norms, Exim Bank can also arrange, can also give buyer's credit without any limit. So suppose other than Exim Bank, anyone who finances the buyer's credit, the ceiling of 20 million US dollars per transaction. So here, Exim Bank can extend the buyer's credit. It's a very good information. Suppose if anybody exports goods, exports of services, they can approach Exim Bank so that they can avail any number of any amount of loan without any ceiling limit. So for export of goods and turnkey projects from India you have to do it. So Exim Bank can extend the credit. Now we will see what is meant by buyer's credit. That's a very important thing, because a very important term that in each and every FEMA, this buyer's credit plays a very vital role. We must understand what is buyer's credit. Let us see what are the importance of buyer's credit. Buyer's credit is a short-term working capital finance provided by the banks. Here, this will be available. Buyer's credit is available only at the time of import. So, buyer credit term is being used when you import the goods, when you import the services. So, it is available at the time of import. So, given to the importer, suppose if the importer is in India, by the overseas lender, that is outside India, you can get the loan such as banks, financial institutions, or international finance services centers located in India as well as in India. It is used, this buyer's credit is being used to import purchase and as well as to meet the capital expenditure. So this is for this purpose, the banks, they are giving the loan. And what's the ceiling of buyer credit? Next important thing that you must know is the ceiling of buyer credit. Suppose if you are importing capital goods, or if you are importing capital goods from abroad, from India, India to India, so banks can give up to US dollar of $20 million. That's a ceiling. Other than Exim, see in Exim Bank, there is no ceiling. Here, all other banks, they have got a ceiling of 20 million US dollars per transaction, a maturity of 3 years. So you can avail a loan of buyer's credit up to 3 years. In case for other business transactions other than the capital goods, the banks can lend the same thing to the tune of 20 million US dollars per transaction, and the maturity of the loan should be up to 1 year. So this is if you import capital goods, the period is 3 years. If you import other than the capital goods, the buyer's credit can be extended for a period of 1 year per transaction. Now we'll see what is the difference between the supplier credit and buyer credit. The supplier credit. What is a supplier credit? Here, the word itself says supplier. Supplier is giving credit. So that means it's a direct finance given by the supplier of goods or capital goods to the importer. That is, supplier gives credit up to 180 days against acceptance or usance LC. So importer can avail the supplier credit. So the supplier credit is being given by the supplier directly to the importer against the document against acceptance and usance bill. Buyer credit is the credit given by the importer. That is, importer is India. He arranges finance, that is, arranges credit from overseas bank, financial institutions against document against acceptance or usance LC. So that is called as buyer's credit. So this is a basic difference. So supplier directly gives that type of credit is called as supplier credit. If the buyer gives, then that is called, if the buyer arranges himself, then that is coming under the category of buyer credit. So borrow from bank outside India by resident India. So a resident India can borrow from a bank outside India by way of loan or overdraft or any other credit facility. So it is allowed. So that means RBI says clear thing that you can go and buy, you can avail the loan from abroad. So from a bank outside India, it is not from a bank situated in India. So a buyer, a person can buy, a person resident in India borrow loan from, can borrow loan by a bank which is situated outside India in the form of loan, overdraft or credit facility, and this has to be used to execute turnkey project outside India or in connection with the export on deferred payment of terms. For that, a resident can borrow loan from a bank which is situated outside. But even for that also, the prior approval of AA is required. That is, approving authority is required. Now, for anything, this person who is doing the project export or project export of services, they have to open the bank account. I mean, person executing the construction contract and export of services, they have to open current account. That is a current account in the form of foreign currency account, and they can open and they can maintain. That means they have to do the operations. This account can be opened in India or outside India. This has to be done as per the terms stated in the FEMA. And this is a very, very important. So it's RBI has clearly stated that anybody who wants to do the export of services, export of projects, then they are eligible to open a bank account outside India as well as in India, and that type of account is in the form of foreign currency account. And anything that is export of goods or services and the project export should be reported in the prescribed form to RBI. There's a prescribed form in the RBI. This form is clearly stated in the PEM issued by the Reserve Bank of India. There you can find the form. So this has to be reported to RBI. And here you are doing exports. You are doing export of goods, export of services. Or normally you will be getting duty drawback, duty thing. So the basic thing is this is covered under the scheme called Service Export from India Scheme, SCIS. So it aims to promote export of services. So duty drawback can be, you can get not only for the goods, you can get for the export of services also. You are eligible to get the duty drawback. And they are saying that eligible exports. So eligible exports is defined by the Reserve Bank of India, and all the service providers who are doing the eligible exports are eligible to get the duty credit. The duty of the service provider is to realize the foreign exchange which becomes due or accrue from such export of services. This is a thing that you should know. So the very intention of the government is you are eligible for the duty drawback, but provided you must bring the currency, foreign exchange into India. This is what the very much importance. So not only in export of goods, for export of services also, you are eligible to get the duty script credit. And with only one condition, the service provider must bring the foreign exchange or must realize a foreign exchange and bring into India. And this is what I want to say about the project export and service export as per the FEMA. Thank you very much for the patient watching of this program. Nandri, Vanakkam.